Hi, and welcome to this week's IGTV. Today, I'm talking about 5 science-backed powerful tools to improve your relationship with your teenager and how you can start using them immediately to see results. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about my story and how I have used these tools with my own teenagers, now adult children, which are quite different than what I learned, and that going through that process to make that shift and that change, to have the relationship that I want with my now young adults, where we enjoy easy conversation, we have laughter, we have genuine respect for each other, even in hard conversations, and we set boundaries with each other that we both respect, and we appreciate and like being around each other. So that's what I want for you. The struggle is definitely real. You have 2 preteens and a teens. Oh my. Okay. So it sounds like you are all in the right place. Hello from Southern California. Okay. So, whoops, I gotta be careful. My name is Allie Payne. I'm a certified life coach and certified relationship systems coach. I'm one of 70 people in Canada to hold both designations. I have been working with parents of teens for the last 16 years to help them end the baffling blow-ups and painful disconnections, stressful silences, to create healthy relationships based on mutual respect and trust and genuine connection, so you can have all of the things that I just described. Hello, my friend. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and I'm going to share these 5 tools with you and how you can start using them with your teen. Okay. Now, if you're like me, now this is not against past generations. Okay. So let's just not do that. They did not have the tools that we have. They did not have the knowledge that we have. In fact, they had incorrect knowledge. So really, they were doing the best they can based on complete incorrect knowledge that was disproven in 1950. But it was how they were raised. So let's just go into it. So if you're like me, imagine a toddler, right? Imagine a toddler and you're with another toddler, and the one toddler like pokes one of them, and what does the other toddler do? Like sticks a finger in their eye or like pinches them or something. That's what toddlers do. They react. Okay? Toddlers react. That's what they do. Now, let's say you're a young child. Okay? And somebody is playing with your toy or your piece of Lego, maybe a sibling, right? A sibling. And you're playing with something that's like really favorite to you. And a child, say around 5-ish, 5 to 8, whatever, takes that toy from you because I want it. So they come and take it. That's very normal behavior for a child, by the way. And so what do? You're a child too. You react, and now you retaliate. Because that's also normal for a child's brain, to react and to retaliate. Okay? Now, if you were like me and you were raised in an environment where you were never supported to understand your emotional experience of being human, okay? So it's simplistic, as of course, as a toddler. It's a little more complicated as a child, then it goes and blows up as a teenager, okay? So if you are a child and you are not being supported to understand emotional regulation, to process all of your feelings, to regulate, to begin to build the executive function as a child, to understand that reacting and retaliating, it's probably, it feels normal and it feels right. Yes, I also did not experience any emotional safety. Absolutely. And so what you might have gotten when you reacted and retaliated as a child was then that's mean. You should never do that. We don't take other people's toys. And so what you were told that what you were naturally and normally feeling was bad and wrong. More importantly, you were taught you needed to do restoration, like go give the toy back, but you had never been allowed to process what you were feeling. So it probably got stored in you. got stored over time. I don't know. Is this sounding familiar to anybody? Now, let's say you're a teenager. Your puberty has exploded your brain. You are having 4.5 times more emotions than you had when you were a child. Far more complexity in your thoughts, and your emotional brain is running the show because your executive function at the higher level, the adult executive function, is not fully functioning because it's not designed to, it's not developed. So you are all gas pedal in your brain, all gas pedal, no brakes. All gas pedal, no brakes. Okay, so now as a teenager, because you've not yet been taught emotional regulation and emotional safety, you are reacting to everything, which teenagers do, right? They react all over the place. And you might also, as a teenager, have been retaliating, right? Retaliating with your parents, retaliating with your siblings, because you're looking for revenge. You're looking for revenge because the level of anger and feeling unheard and feeling suppressed and shut down and feeling unseen, because you were, don't you talk to me like that, young lady. You were, those emotions came across as disrespect to your parents because that's what they learned and that's what they knew. Okay. So there was no space for you to process and be with and understand emotional regulation. So as a teenager, you probably continued, and it might have even escalated, your reactivity, your the degree to which you built resentment. Then you retaliated because you wanted revenge, because that's the only way you knew how to feel heard and seen. And now you're a parent. And bless you, I am speaking from my own experience, okay? As a parent, I wanted to have my children to have a very different experience than I did. I wanted them to feel emotionally safe, even in their hot mess of emotions, right? That they could express hot emotions. And it wasn't that we were going to condone a whole bunch of BS behavior. No. But they were going to learn how to process their behavior, their emotions, so they could learn how to regulate. So we didn't need to do the reactivity and retaliation and build resentment and revenge. We didn't need to do that. That's what I wanted for my kids. Here was problem number 1. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't even know what that was. Like, intellectually, I didn't know what that was. Emotionally, I knew that's what I wanted for my kids. So they didn't feel shamed and constantly made wrong with emotions and feelings that were real. So they didn't have to shove them down to be pleasing to me, because in some effed up way, compliance and control was respect, which it's not. Okay? So I had to reparent myself. I had to figure this out. And what I learned in doing this for the last 16 years, in all of my own decades of therapy that I went through, I spent 10 years in personal development. And then I went back to school and became a certified life coach and a certified relationship systems coach. What I learned through this 16 years of working with parents is there's 5 major potholes. There's 5 big missteps that if you're like me, you were not taught. So you want your teenager to have this experience of having a parent who feels emotionally safe to be around, to share their feelings with, that you're still, you want to be a parent, you still want to have some boundaries, you want to have like, hey, now it's not a free for all, but then you catch yourself reacting. It might look like snapping at your teen, might look like yelling. And you're doing what you learned as the only way to manage and express your own emotions as a toddler, as a child, and as a teen, because you were never taught differently. And that doesn't make you bad or wrong. It makes you normal. And it doesn't make your parents bad or wrong. We're not talking about your parents, okay? So now as a parent, you have a teenager who you've been raising the very best you can, and I know you've been giving it your all, who is also learning to react, to retaliate, to take revenge, to hide their emotions rather than share them, to be people pleasing, to try and be pleasing to earn your love rather than be authentic in who they are, because that's not safe, because you also don't feel safe. So when your teenager gets unregulated, you get unregulated. Like, you're going to be calm and respectful to your teenager, but the minute they lose their shit, which teenagers do, it's all bets are off. And now you're allowed to react, retaliate, and take revenge, aka punishment, grounding, taking cars, taking phones, taking gaming. It's a form of revenge because you're unregulated and you want to get back in control. If this sounds familiar, I cannot say enough. There is zero shame here. This is a generational cycle that if you are just here watching right now, you are part of undoing. What I realized I wanted for my children was nothing that I knew how to do. And so I've relearned. I was reactive. My kids weren't in line. Like, it was all good when they were being slightly messy and emotional, and I'd make space for it. But boy, when my gray area got passed in my line, I reacted. I threw them in the bathroom timeouts. I carted my son up to his room by his arm. Not my proudest moment. I don't know how I did not dislocate his arm. Threw him in his room and slammed the door. Again, not my proudest moment. Because the gap between what I knew I wanted to experience as a parent and what I wanted to create, I didn't have the tools. Because nobody teaches this. Nobody. So instead, I felt guilty. I shamed myself. And then I would blame my kids and say, well, if you weren't this way, I wouldn't have to do this. That doesn't sound like taking responsibility for one's behavior, does it? But I didn't. I didn't know how to take responsibility for my behavior because I didn't even know how to create what I wanted. So I blamed myself and felt guilty in silence and at night crying in my bed. Or I would blame my kids and be like, well, if you just would behave yourself, I wouldn't have to be this monster mom. This is your fault. Because again, then that's all I understood was control and compliance, even though that's not what I wanted. And I'm like, dang, why is this so hard? So next week, I am running my 5-day challenge, which I haven't run in a while, okay? 5 days to a better relationship with your teen. And each of these 5 days, I am giving a powerful, instantly applicable, tangible tool of the 5 ways that I see relationships break down based on my own experience and 16 years of work. So let's cover these 5 ways right now, okay? So it's like planning a trip. When you're planning a trip, the first thing you need to know on the map is not where you're going. The first thing you need to know on the map is where are you now? And I am not going to come in here and tell you what is all like up in your business and what is wrong with you and why this isn't working. No. That is not how I run my programs. You are going to assess. I will give you the worksheet. You get to assess your current relationship with your teenager to decide, oh, okay, so this probably describes best where we are. So then I know where I'm going. I'm going to tell you where you're going based on science, research, my own experience as a teen and a parent, and all of my years of experience of helping thousands of parents. But you get to decide where you are. Then you have a roadmap, okay? And then, this is still day one, okay? This is tool number 1. I am going to share with you the scientifically proven, most powerful tool, relationship connection tool, simplest, that's ever been. It doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter why you're using it or how many times. I'm going to share with you the most powerful connection tool. And I'm going to give you exact wording and scripts, like word for word, literally word for word, so that you can instantly go and use this connection. So you can begin to, day one, you're going to be connecting with your teen. Day one. And everyone posts it's a private Facebook group. It does only run on Facebook. It's a private Facebook group, and all these gorgeous parents, just like yourself, post the statements, the word for word statements that they use with their teen and the reaction. And this is just some of the reactions, okay, that parents have said. Is I use some of the statements that you shared, and my daughter looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Thank you." And then "I love you" over and over. This is a daughter and a mama who were in high conflict, very disconnected. And she used the exact scripts that I gave her on day one of the 5-day challenge. And her daughter said, "Thank you" and "I love you" over and over with tears in her eyes. Is that the kind of connection? It cuts through everything. So that's day one, is connecting. How, like actually word for word, how to connect, and you go use it immediately with your teenager. These are not tools that you need a PhD for, or a 3-ring binder, or no, I give you the worksheet and the exact words. You just go do it. And of course, use your own words if you want. You don't have to use mine, okay? Now, here's day two. And this was something, this was a very frustrating thing. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever been in, you're doing life with your teen and you're doing your darndest, because it is a hard job. And there's this repetitive cycle that happens with your teen, this frustrating, annoying, escalating, or exhausting cycle that keeps showing up with your teen. And you're like, why? Why does this keep happening? I say I don't want this to happen, but it keeps happening. Sometimes you see it coming a mile away. Sometimes you see it when it's right here and you're like, no, hit the brakes. But then you can't hit the brakes because you don't know where the gas pedal is, so you don't know where the brakes are. And sometimes it has tire tracks on your face because it's way in the rearview mirror by now. And you're like, how did that happen again? How did it happen again? Does that sound familiar to you? They might not be big. It could be really subtle. Some of them are really big. But these repetitive negative cycles that just keep showing up with your teen. So first, I want to tell you it's not about intelligence. It's got nothing to do with intelligence. It's how your brain is wired. Did you know that your brain is wired to repeat actions over and over, even if you know they don't work and you don't want to do it and you say you're never going to do it again? Do you know your brain is wired to repeat the same patterns? And that has nothing to do with intelligence, at all. Yeah, your brain is wired to preserve energy so that in an emergency, you have all the executive function and intellectual thinking power you need in case. So what your brain does is it takes habitual patterns, even the ones you say you don't want to repeat, that you're not going to do it again, and it puts them back into your unconscious brain, which takes way less energy. And it just keeps running them on repeat. And you're like, why? That's why. So on day 2 of the 5-day challenge, I'm going to give you a super simple, powerful tool, very visual, okay, that allows you to go from this situation where you can't see why it's happening and it's in your unconscious brain, and we're gonna name it to tame it. We're gonna name that pattern, name it to tame it, and then we're gonna get up in the helicopter, metaphorical, and we're gonna go up 5,000 feet to where you're looking down at it. In a traffic jam, all you see is the person in front of you, and you're like, just go, and you're like, hit the gas. Why aren't you moving? Because you only see the person in front of you, right? But if you get in the helicopter and you get up 5,000 feet and you're like, oh, okay, so it's actually clogged over here because this lights is on 4-way flash. So, and then you start backing up the problem. You're like, oh, so if these people took this reroute this way, they could get off this way, and then eventually you get and you fix the clog where you actually are, but you can't see that until you come up above it, right? So I'm going to give you a tool to name the pattern, this negative pattern that keeps derailing your efforts to connect with your teen, so that you can see it so clearly. And then just like you backed out the traffic jam, because then you could see it and you knew, okay, well, that light needs to be fixed, but given right now, here's a detour with these cars, and then you back it all the way up to where you are. I'm going to give you the tool to actually do that. Because when you bring a negative pattern into your conscious brain, and I know you're smart, that is when you give yourself you empower yourself to take a different route. Like if this one has always got the traffic jam, right? But your unconscious brain will keep taking that same route because that's what it's built for. So when you bring it to your conscious brain and because you're like, oh, okay. So now I see why it starts, how it keeps happening, and now I see how I can take a different route. It's so simple and powerful. You can instantly do that with your teenager. You don't need to learn it and practice it for 30 days and memorize a script. No. Instantly. Go use that with your teen to undo these negative patterns. So that's day 2. Day three of my 5-day challenge. And if you already want in on this, if you're here on Instagram, you can tap my name and then go to the link in my profile. And it says 5 days to a better relationship with your teen. It starts Monday, or you can go to my website, alliepayne.com. There's a big pink banner at the top. You can hit that. Day three is big. Now we're starting to ramp up here. Are you with me? We're starting to ramp up. We're getting into the good stuff. But we have to do this at certain pace and at certain steps, because if we jump straight to day 5, it's not going to make any sense. And I know you've already tried that because you're an amazing parent. You've already tried jumping to the end step. But if you don't understand the steps to get there, the end step is useless. Right? It's like putting a child in a library and telling them to read the encyclopedias. Well, they can't even read yet. They don't have the context to get the information right. So, day 3. How many times have you asked your teenager to do something to help around the house and they don't do it? Type in the comments. How many times? How many times do you find yourself asking your teenager, making a basic request for them to either complete a chore or a basic task or help out or do something, and they even say yes sometimes, but they don't do it? How many times has that happened for you? Well, if you're like most parents, hundreds or thousands. Thank you. Exactly. Hundreds or thousands. And how do you feel about that? Rah! Like enraged. It is so frustrating. So frustrating that it has you question whether your child had a frontal lobotomy overnight, because why did their IQ literally drop like 50 points? Yes, all the effing time. Thank you for your honesty. 100%, right? And you want to lose your marbles. And you know they're smart enough to do it. You know they physically are capable of doing it. So where's the disconnect? Because right now, you do not love them. Like at all. And then you find yourself probably doing one of these 3 things. Just out of utter frustration. First, you remind them because you're like, okay, well, maybe they forgot. Like maybe they forgot, because I know they're smart enough and I know that they can physically do this, like take out the garbage, or like they have the ability. Yes? So you find yourself reminding them, right? But when reminders, then you're reminding them and you're like, okay, I'm reminding you, so why aren't you doing this? And your inner ragey mommy monster is going like this, right? Which is natural and normal. Of course it's normal. Why? Because you're not feeling heard. That's why. And you deserve to feel heard. So now your reminding has turned to, number 2, nagging. So now you're just nagging. You're like constantly nagging your teenager to get these simple things done, but they're not doing them. They're not getting them done. And your resentment, feeling disrespected and unheard, is like you are escalating. Of course, also normal. Your frustration level is reaching an all-time high. You are at your wits' end. And now, if you're normal, you might have you might have lost your shit. And now you're yelling. And now you're yelling being the parent that you don't want to be. And I know you don't want to be. But you don't know how else to get your teenager to get off their and get going and do these simple things until you finally blow, and then you're yelling, but then you end up feeling guilty, and then you're shaming and blaming yourself because you're like, but I don't want to do this. This is how we said we weren't going to do it. Yeah, so you've cut off the Wi-Fi instead of nagging. Yeah, you know what? It's one tool, okay? I'm not here to judge, whatever. It's one tool. But these are the kind of steps that you end up resorting to, is taking the phone or cutting off Wi-Fi or doing these kinds of things because you feel so unheard. And you are desperate, frustrated, heartbroken, or defeated because you're like, come on. Also a little concerned whether your teenager's actually going to hold a full-time job ever if they can't even complete these basic tasks, or they just choose to ignore you all the time. Right? Story of my life. I love you all. You are so my people. You are welcome here. I have done all these things. I have done these things because you see, I'm trying to not be the parent that I experienced, where I was okay, all smiley and pretendy, which isn't authentic either, by the way. It's bullshit. But then I can only hold it together long enough. I can only hold my little image of myself, of what kind of mom I want to be, until finally I just blow, because that's not real either. So by trying to be inauthentic to get what I want, then I end up like blowing. So day 3 is scientifically proven. The exact scripts, word for word. I'm going to give them to you word for word of the way to phrase your request that I know you believe you are being super clear on. I know you believe you're being super clear. I get it. This is not about intelligence, okay? Nobody teaches this stuff. You don't get this in communications in high school. No, you learn how to write an essay about Shakespeare, a press release if you're lucky. You don't learn these kind of skills. It's bananas to me. Okay, so I'm going to give you the exact scientifically proven scripts on how to state a request in a way that pierces the veil of the cone of attention of your teenager. That's right, the exact words. And this you've got to, yes, I'm going to show you this. So here's what one parent said to me. Just one second. I'm just going to pull this up. So she said, sorry, I'm pulling it up right now. One moment, please. Okay. So first of all, our house has been a lot calmer, and everyone's wondering, how is this possible? Our house has been a lot calmer. Last night, we sat down for a family meeting, and we'd explained the changes that were going on, like this new language, because you're going to weird your teen out a little bit using this new language. It's hysterical. Most teenagers are like, why are you talking to me all like a therapist? Because when you're using exact scripts, right, they're not really authentic to you yet, because we all start somewhere. And so eventually you will find your own words, right? And she asked them to clean their room using the exact scripts that I gave them at this family meeting, okay? And here's what happened. What happened was, sorry, I've got hair on my laptop here. I can't take it. She got up the next morning, and her daughter had already, this is the same daughter who wouldn't clean her room before, had already completely tidied her room through the night. Like, I don't mean all night, but like instead of staying up and playing video games or on her phone, her daughter was so clear on how to meet this request, because the way it was stated, her daughter did the whole darn thing. Like right there. Did it all. Here's another one. I'm going to just open. Oh, is it there? Yes. Okay, just one sec. Oh, here we go. Update. This is a miracle. My daughter just called me into her room to show me how she had cleaned it, because she was so proud of herself, and I was absolutely shocked. So there's another one. My daughter normally leaves she uses my bathroom, and this is a test, another parent wrote this. Just a second, I'll read it to you. Okay, so the dishwasher. I guess I did it right yesterday because the dishwasher and glasses were brought to the kitchen as per multiple previous requests. But yesterday, it was on her own free will. She did it. She realized the dishwasher was full, and she looked at me and stared at all of the empty dishes, and looked at me, and then, without saying a word, she emptied the dishwasher and put her dirty dishes in the dishwasher. Plus, then she smiled at her mom, and they actually hugged. No other words were necessary because she'd used my exact request formula. So again, you're going to get word for word scripts on how to make requests with your teenager, so you don't have to lose your ever-loving mind, and you can begin to break this cycle that I talked about at the beginning of reactivity, reaction, retaliation, which is often the grounding and the consequences, because if that's what you learned as a child, that's what you're going to do as a parent. Okay? And revenge, which is like deeper and steeper punishments. Okay? Reaction, retaliation, and revenge. And I have, again, this is no shame or judgment. Like, we do what we learn, right? So the tools I'm giving you are actually going to help you to be less reactive, because you're going to be more empowered. So you don't need to react in the way that you did, because you're going to be more empowered. So you are going to get to feel, number one thing that parents tell me they get out of this program, they feel calmer and more confident. Calmer and more confident. Because they can let go, and they can actually feel good and authentic about how they're parenting, because they're being the parent they want to be, because they figured out it's not about changing their teen. It's about changing some of their language, which again, we're never taught. Okay, so day 3 is all about making specific, clear requests in the scientific way that the brain hears the information, so your teenager is a lot more likely to do what it is you ask them. Are you ready? Day 4 of the 5-day challenge. Ha ha, the big one. We are sliding in from basic requests right on into boundaries. Boundaries and consequences. The meat, the big sandwich, the kahuna, the extra large, the extra round, the add fries, the whole supersize it. That's what boundaries and consequences are on day 4. That is why most parents take my 5-day challenge to get straight to day 4. But as I said, I can't take you straight to day 4 because you probably think you're already setting all the boundaries in the way that are workable, but your boundaries just aren't working, or your teenager's brain is broken. So what you need to do is have better consequences. Yes, Sally. I just need to know how to do better consequences. Well, I have some sad news for you. The reason your boundaries aren't working is because you don't actually understand what a boundary is. And that's not because I'm trying to insult your intelligence. Again, nobody tells you this. You only know what a boundary is because of what your parents taught you. And God bless them. They were lied to based on incorrect psychology that their parents were raised in, that they were told was a boundary, but it's actually not a boundary. This is like, we have 50 years of science that's showing us that it's not true, but that is still so pervasive. So because you are smart, when I show you in a chart, word for word, I'm not talking about all the foofy, fluffy stuff and trying to get you to make up something to read between the lines about what I'm talking about. No. I'm going to give you this is what a boundary is. This is what a boundary is not. This is what it sounds like. These are the words. This is what it's not. This is what it actually is. This is what you were taught. This is what you are trying. This is what you need to use and why it works. This is what you were taught and what you're using. And this is why it's not working. I'm going to walk you through the exact thing. Because you see, when you actually understand what a boundary is and you have the exact words on how to use it, guess what you need less of? Consequences. So if you are struggling to set boundaries with your teen, or they just keep busting right through them, and you're still stuck in this reactive retaliation, resentment, revenge cycle, it's not because you need better consequences. It was never about the consequences, although I am going to talk about that too. It's that your boundaries, you have been sold a lie. You've been sold down the river about what a boundary is, not intentionally, okay? So it's not about your lack of trying. You're an amazing parent. It's that you were never given the right tools. Boundaries and consequences is day 4, and it is the whole sandwich, the big sub, the supersize it, the whole reason that people come. It's one of the biggest things that I had one mom, she said, I can see I wasn't setting my teenagers up for success by doing everything for them. And this was game changing. I had another mom say, that it's been huge. The last couple weeks after have been huge. They have had 0 family blow-ups, and her and her 15-year-old were feeling so much less stress, that they believe they're more connected, and they're actually spending time watching TV together, which hasn't happened in months, and basic boundaries about picking things up, putting away food and dishes, cleaning up the family room when they're done. There's respect for property. Can you imagine? Basic respect for property. And she doesn't have to ask a million times anymore. It's possible. Now, day 5. Are you tired of trying to have conversations with your teenager and all you get is, I don't know. Like literally. And then you're like, Allie, all of this stuff is wonderful. Good for you. I love that journey for you. But my teen doesn't talk to me. So this is all useless. Hey, if that is your current situation, this actually is what I'm talking about. Day 5, I'm going to, again, give you exact scripts, not leave you wondering, instantly implementable tools with your teenager on how to open up conversation, those easy, fun, get to know them so they actually might share something with you instead of like going dark in their hoodie and like hiding in the room and never talking to you. So they begin to share things rather than hide them. They begin to see you as a safe person rather than the judge and jury. Day 5 is all about opening safe conversations with your teenager so that you can get something more than I don't know, and they don't like literally try and avoid you all the time, and how you can have these kind of open conversations with more ease on a regular basis, and perhaps why they haven't been working in the past. So those are the 5 biggest missteps that I noticed with parents of teens over 16 years that I have also noticed myself, okay, is I didn't know how to truly connect with my teen. I didn't know that. That's day 1. Day 2 was these consistent negative patterns kept showing up and derailing all of my efforts with my kids. It felt really defeating, and I beat myself up for a long time about that. Day 3 is how to make basic requests so you don't lose your ever-loving mind thinking your teenager's IQ is now in their boots and they are going to need to live at home forever because they're just not going to succeed in life. Day 4 is how to set healthy, constructive boundaries in ways that work so you feel more respected, and so does your teenager. And you need less consequences. You don't need better consequences, you need less consequences. Huh? That sounds pretty good. And number 5 is how to have more open, easy conversations where your teenager feels safe to just share basic things with you so you actually get to know them again. Because I know you missed them when you loved your relationship with them when you were a child, and now you miss them. I get that too. If you're interested in my 5-day challenge, it is $25. That's right, $25. $5 for 5 days. That's right. You're not going to get it, it's life-changing. This is what parents tell me, okay, is that the 5-day challenge was life-changing for them. And they feel calmer, more confident, and more connected with their teen. Carrie said to her son, using my exact language, okay, take the garbage out and put the dishes in the dishwasher, using my exact scripts, and guess what? Her son did it, first time, done. She's like, I'm sorry, what? What? Yes, 100%. Step parents, yes, I have tons of step parents. So if you're interested in the 5-day challenge, it starts on Monday. You get access for 30 days. So if you're busy next week, it's okay. You get access to my the exclusive content. You're not going to find this anywhere else. It's not on social media. It's nowhere else. It'll only be in the private Facebook group. And yes, it is only on Facebook. Every day there's an instruction video, and then you get a downloadable worksheet so you can do the exercise and then go in the comments, and all the parents are sharing all their insights and their homework and reactions from teens and tips and support and encouragement. And yes, it is 100% safe, supportive community, because I do not tolerate anything else. You will be removed otherwise. Okay. You get access to all that for 30 days. So no rush, no stress. Don't worry about keeping up. It's all good. 30 days. Okay. It's $25. Make sure that you register, because it's not going to run again I run it like maybe 3 times a year. You can go to my website, alliepayne.com. There's a big pink banner right across the top. You can register there. Or if you're here on Instagram, you can tap my name. Then there's a link in my bio, link in my profile. Tap that, it'll open up another menu, and it'll say 5-day challenge starts June 12th. If you're here on YouTube, I will put the link right below this. I really would love to see you in my 5-day challenge. It's one of my favorite things. Here's another one. Kim said, I made some specific requests using your scripts, and every single one of the chores were completed without argument, and I only had to say it once. Huge win. It's okay. So this is the kind of thing I want for you. So join me in my 5-day challenge. If you can't find the link, just post something before, just say, send me the link, and I'll get it to you. And I look forward to seeing you in the 5-day challenge, 5 days to a better relationship with your teen. Next week, it starts Monday. Registration closes Monday at noon Pacific. So don't wait. You're worth this. And so is your team. I will see you guys there. Bye.